Hey, it's Jordan here in Flint. We were just at another line that was wrapped around blocks for water. That one was at the University of Michigan Flint campus. And Little Miss Sunshine, she's a young girl. She's been what? I said Little University of Michigan Flint. Little Mich- Little Flint. Um, Little Miss Flint has been organizing water bottles and free water donations, so people are capitalizing on that. A lot of people we're talking to are basically like scavengering day by day, looking for different places handing out water because the state of Michigan has shut down the water pods. But if you talk to residents here and you just get a feel for the city, it's not exactly a city that is drinking the water. And most people I've spoken to tell me it either smells out of their taps, is still discolored out of their taps, and a whole lot of other things, even though the state is telling them, oh, everything's fine, the water's fine, we've tested it, everything's great. I'm here with Virginia. You're a resident here on the east side of Flint, and you have been through hell like many other residents. This is our first time meeting, and just looking at you, I could tell you've lost a lot of weight. I've never met you before, but definitely skinny. So you've lost a lot of weight. I'll let you tell it. Tell me about after the water switch. What were your first symptoms that you started developing as far as your body aches and things like that?
Well, my joints, started hurting, and then I just started getting excruciating pain in my hands, and to the point to where, I had to go to the doctor and say, well, there's something wrong with them. And, then I got the diagnosis of carpal tunnel in your hands. And, from there, it just went from like, you get out of the shower and you feel like something's just eating on you, which that still happens. I just feel like something's just absolutely eating on my skin, and it be all broke out and blotchy and red and
Still, while you
still,
take
still.
a shower.
Oh yeah, still within like 10 minutes. And you, even though you've greased down with all kinds of lotions and oils, and still feel like something's eating on you. You know, so and from there it just went to, well, all of a sudden your teeth are just falling apart. So you're going to have them pulled and get dentures, and you go through all that. And, now the dentures don't fit right, so you can't eat like normal people. So, you try to eat as much soft food as you can, but, for some reason, I'm still losing weight. You know, that's what they're trying to figure out now. Why have you lost this much weight?
And you've gotten your blood checked. You have, like they say, 5 parts per billion of lead in your blood, which for blood levels, I mean, you shouldn't have any lead in your blood. Five is can make a big impact, and some people I've heard have five. Some people I've heard have upwards of nearly 50 parts per billion of lead. But I mean, you're only 65. It's not, you shouldn't be losing all your teeth or have to wear dentures or this level of pain. And you're also, I mean, nearly half your hair has
Yeah,
fallen off.
well over half of my hair.
Yeah.
I mean, what am I going to do come this winter? And it's still coming out. No matter how much supplements that I do, it's still shedding all over the place.
So the state is saying we've checked the water levels, it's below EPA regulations, but you're not drinking the water, but you are showering for about like 5 to 10 minutes.
Right,
And in the shower, you're still having, rashes
right.
and your skin
It's
kind of
all
reacting.
blotchy and all broke out, and you know, I mean, I shouldn't be feeling as though something is eating on my skin. And, and I know this sounds really, really gross, but one, I went into the, went and took a bath one night, and I just soaked in like Epsom salts, and for like 45 minutes. And I get out, and a few minutes later, I look down at my hand, and I see these like little bite-like things that I'm looking at, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, it literally looks like worms crawling out of my skin from, like, there's no way this water can be healthy enough to even bathe in, and let alone you telling people to drink it through this pissy little filter.
Yeah, I've heard that. Another woman told me she saw those black little things that look like worms coming out of her basement. We've heard all sorts of things about disgusting looking creatures coming out of people's faucets. One woman had like a orange looking amoeba coming out of her faucet. And meanwhile, they keep saying everything's fine. And it's almost just like this elitist, the scientists or the government officials tell you, like, we're the experts, we know everything's fine. But you guys could smell your water, you guys could taste your water, and people are still putting out on social media brown, discolored type water coming out.
The water has been tested when there's still 29 carcinogens plus the lead and the copper and the bacteria and God only knows what else. Don't tell us the water's safe because I don't believe you. I don't. I just don't. You know, we trusted you before and look where that got us.
And the interesting thing about you is, so you've got, since the water switch in 2014, pretty bad osteoporosis, hair loss, rashes, weight loss. Anything else I'm missing?
The muscle loss, you know, uh, it's just the emotional end to it. Like, how is it that you feel that you don't owe Flint what all the residents? Look at what you've done. We didn't ask to be poisoned, and you were Snyder. You were accountable. You was the one who was making the rules. Everybody answered to you. Don't say you didn't know because you damn fucking knew.
And you never drank the water, so
No, that's right.
you've had
I
all this
never
happen.
drank the water. I have documentation showing that from when I started on alkaline water, and that was in November of '06. I've been on alkaline water all the way through. But my poor dogs were on city water, and I lost three of them and set me back 20 grand in debt over that.
And how long did they die after the
One
2014
made
water
it
switch?
4 months. The other one made it another 8 months. And, well, no, she didn't even make that. It was August. And she made it to March. And then the other one made another, I think, year. But from that year with the third one, you know, she was in complete liver failure, shutdown. And I brought her back out of that with supplements and have the documentation on it. But it was still in her brain,
Right.
in her brain, and so much of it in her lungs that she couldn't take it.
And for you, because these experts say it's fine to shower, yet you never drank the water. You weren't drinking the city tap water. You've only been showering,
That's right.
and you've gotten osteoporosis, hair loss, rashes, um, and you were saying you've had uh, basically other kind of minor body pain, and that's just from showering in the water.
Just from showering. Just from showering.
And talk to me about kind of the day to day, because you have some cases of water here, but you're kind of frail, and obviously you're in pain. How are you getting the water? Is it difficult now that they've shut down the water pods?
The last trip to get water was about a month ago, and we got like 8 cases of water, and the line was at least 20 blocks long, and it was hot. And I mean, I literally thought I was going to die in that car waiting to get up there to that. And then when I left there, I went to the market and I had to have the girl get the salt shaker out and give me some salt because I just felt like my blood pressure was so going to bottom out. I was going to pass out from the heat. So
Is the heat bothering you more
it
in the last few years?
started this year to where I can't take it. I just I just go beet red, and I'm just like, you know, what the hell? I can't take that heat, like for it to be that hot out, and that's not me at all. I could stay out there for. I grew up in the South. I know what it's like to be in hot weather, but I can't. I know what it's like to have a few days here in Michigan in the summer, but for some reason this year I can't handle it.
And the thing is, the rest of the media just is repeating what the state of Michigan says, that lead levels have fallen. We're meeting EPA regulations now. Our lead levels are the same as any other city with similar infrastructure. Yet, majority of the pipes have not been changed here. They're all damaged, and they all had lead leaching off. So they haven't been replaced. The majority of the city was never tested for lead.
I have my smokestack pipe with putty in it holding the hole, but the fucking water ate a hole. It's this big around,
And it's still there.
and it's still there.
So that's what I'm saying. It
I
just
mean, this is a pipe that's been in the wall from the beginning of the house being built. It ate a hole right through that freaking pipe. I have cookware that I've had for shit 50 years that I've been using, that I've used, that it's all stained and all cruddy looking. To replace that cookware to something equivalent to what that was, to now, I mean, you would be spending at least $15,000. That's sad. It's chewed up the chrome on the touch toe in the tub.
and if they haven't changed, they haven't changed someone like yours pipes. So presumably they're saying, well, we've added the phosphates into the pipes and added the phosphates into the water, so that's preventing any more lead from leaching out into the water. But the majority of people aren't using the tap water in the city, so the water is mostly stagnant. So it just defies logic. You don't have to be an expert.
So
How
that's
is the
the black shit that's, lining the toilet when nobody's using it, just sitting in there in the toilet, well, stuck to the toilet, okay?
how have your friends, family, people been dealing? Or I noticed more people that I've met 2 3 years ago are now coming down with new illnesses.
Exactly. There's something new all the time. I've had eye issues, now there's like a muscle thing going on, to where I'm supposed to do treatments on my eyes every day. The tissue is ripped away from from the edge of my eye. It's literally ripped from getting water in it. So I guess I'm going to be getting cataract surgery sometime soon.
You afraid for the future? You think you're 65 now, kind of like when is the other shoe going to drop? What else is going to come?
What else is, yeah. I mean, you're just like that all the time. Like, how many more things can go wrong? And you sit here and say you're not accountable for none of it and you shouldn't have to pay these people. You didn't do anything, but you can spend this kind of money in your defense.
Yeah, let's talk about that because if you don't know, the state director of Health and Human Services. He essentially, I think it's the longest pretrial in Michigan history. This guy's been on pretrial almost a year, just for a judge to decide if he should go to trial for involuntary manslaughter. And the other day, the judge delayed it. It was supposed to be the final day, and the judge was supposed to decide. He delays it for a month. I don't know why. But his defense attorney, Jen, was there, and she was asking questions. She was the only one asking actual questions. The other media basically just held his lunch for him. But he was basically saying, well, the head of the Department of Health Services here, he's not an expert on health, so he can't be held accountable. And, oh, yeah, he's the head of the Department of Health and Human Services, but even if he would have warned Flint earlier, those people would have died. And we just found out, PBS did a piece that it wasn't 12 people that died from Legionella. It might have been upwards of 120 that died.
or more. How do you know? I mean, what about the amount of people that died from brain tumors? How do you? What about people who maybe died from lung lung problems? I mean, the poor dog was just like, you know, choking for air.
I don't cry on camera, but you'll make me cry. You know how I feel about dogs. But yeah, and you're not the only one.
And the worst part, I've gone through a lot with all of my dogs, but the worst part was when I had to make the decision on my birthday. My birthday? Are you kidding me? I mean, how sad, you know? And 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 it's the same thing with them. Even having them tested, they sit there and say, well, it's okay if they have a little bit of lead in their body. They're fine. Well, how is it fine when they're only, 15 or 20 pounds? They're just little. 10 pounds, 12 pounds. They don't need that in there. And to think that, I brought her out of liver, her liver was, working great, but it was too much in her lungs.
What do you think? Now you're starting to see water problems pop up in other cities. Some are lead, some are more chemicals that they're finding in the water that cause cancer. There's actually, what's the name of this place that is just happening in Michigan? Let me look. Just today, within the last 24 hours, it is called Parchment, Michigan. They found porofloractic acids, which are basically cancer causing chemicals. It's kind of they're used in the manufacturing of Teflon and other cookware, but they found that they don't know where it's coming from in the city, but they shut down. They told over 3,000 people to not drink the water. You've had other parts of Michigan have had water problems. They're having lead problems in Milwaukee. They're having lead problems in Pittsburgh. They're having lead problems in many other cities, mostly poor, a lot of high minority cities too, and it's all getting swept under the rug. And a lot of the testing that is being done, including here in Flint, uh, is shown to be basically cheating. I found many homes. We're working on a story to get this out. We found, I don't want to give the exact number, but we found a lot of homes where state officials went in and flushed the water lines before sampling, which is totally against EPA regulations. Think about it. You just turn on the water, you let it run for several minutes. What does that do? It flushes out lead, and then voila, let's put the sample bottle in, and you get lower levels. So, what are your thoughts just on? I mean, it's Flint is the tip of the iceberg, and it's spreading elsewhere, and now it's basically been seems like it's been normalized here because no government has been held accountable.
Like it's the norm, I mean, it's okay for us to do this. It's okay for us to, gentrify and change the dynamics of a city, get rid of all the poor people, or hope they die off so we can get what they do have. You know, to be honest, in my situation, and I'm one of the very fortunate ones, All it would take would be a phone call. Say, I'm ready. And my ass could be out of here in 4 days.
You choose not to though.
That's right. You're fucking paying me. You've put me through hell for 4 years. You've cost me. My credit shot because of what you've done.
A lot of out-of-pocket
That's
expenses.
right. A lot of out of pocket expense. Still out of pocket expense. Yeah, I bitch about what the stuff costs, but I need to be quiet about it because that's probably the only reason I'm breathing. So to see these people set up there in court, Mr. Lyons with a smirk on his face, like, ha ha, fuck you people, I didn't do nothing. How do you look at yourself in the mirror? How do you do that?
And it's also a generational thing because more kids are now having behavior spiral out of control. You have just yesterday somebody was talking to me about teachers quitting in mass because they can't
Can't do it.
control the kids.
Yeah, but take them so-called experts and let's put them in a glass house here in Flint with these bouncing off the wall children for about 30 days. And then we'll see what they have to say.
By the way, just to be clear, it's not like the kids are just misbehaving. It's lead poisoning. That's what happens. It takes over. It changes your mood. You have mood swings, out of control behavior. That's why research shows a lot of high crime areas have lead.
They hurt. These babies hurt. They're crying because they hurt. There's pain in their body, in their joints, in their legs, in their brain. They don't know how to deal with that. It is horrible to watch them cry and you not be able to soothe them. It's horrible. It's not right. It is not right what you've done to these babies, to these kids.
And
And there's three. You're not just talking about them. This is 3 generations out. What the fuck? Would it be okay if it was your kid? Bring your kids here. If this is all okay, Flint's good to go. Bring your ass here. Live here.
what are your thoughts? Because you look around the rest. I mean, I don't know how much news you watch, but it's 24/7 Trump. It's 24/7 Russian boogeyman. Now it's about Trump and his affairs. And meanwhile, you got 4.5 years later. I mean, people lining up for hours in a city to get bottled water that's just being donated. It's not even being provided by the state anymore. It doesn't seem like this is considered much of a crisis anymore because people, especially on both coasts, people who live on the East Coast, the West Coast, I don't think it's, malicious, but it's like out of sight, out of mind. And I think, what we see when we're covering churches with lines for hours to get water, and you're seeing people talking. We were talking to a young family yesterday. It's got young kids running around. They literally were out of bottled water. One of them had just bleach, bleach all over her skin from her skin getting the pigmentation from this water. It just seems like there's a dissonance, there's a cognitive disconnect between what's going on here.
Exactly. And it's the same with the kids too. There's something going on in there that's, the neurons are not working the way they should. And it is horrible I mean, it breaks my heart to see the babies cry and me try to soothe them and just nothing works.
You work with the children?
No, I don't work with children, but, I've been with Chris with her kids. And I see how bad, how how bad it can be for Declan sometimes,
Yeah.
and it just
And
tears me apart.
this is a kid that was literally in the womb when this water was switched, and probably like 2 or 3 years old now having body pain.
Right, exactly. It's just not right. You cannot say everybody is good to go here, and you don't owe these people nothing. You owe us a lot, and you're fucking paying because I ain't leaving till you pay.
So what do you think? Do you think we don't know if Lion is going to be held accountable, but do you feel as of now they're pretty much seeming? I think what the government is doing here is trying to just get through this year, get away with shutting down the water pods. That way it's normalized. And that way, that way they don't have to test anymore because they did their testing. So, what are you hoping comes of it? What would you like to see, people here and out of Flint do to, make sure the urgency returns?
I would like to think that they would come together and stand as one unit to fight against us, to make them pay for what they have done to the citizens here in Flint. Pay for the medical. You know, this is going to be ongoing. You're not going to ever know what it's going to be like 5 years from now. I may not even be alive in 5 years. What about these kids?
What do your doctors tell you? Because you were telling me about all the minerals and vitamins you take. What do they tell you about your osteoporosis, your weight loss, your head?
Your hips are really bad. You're real severe, and you need to really, really take it easy, and don't be real careful so you don't fall and break a bone.
Did they tell you? Do they think it could be from the shower water, or they try not to?
They basically don't want to make a statement, you know, but okay, don't make one.
It just. It
Don't
didn't.
hand me
It
a
didn't
vial
just.
of drugs that I'm going to walk into walls either, because that's not going to happen.
Because you didn't just magically have your body fall apart
Right,
for
exactly.
no
I
reason.
didn't, all of a sudden my fingers are like all crooked, and my joints are all 3 times the size they are, and just excruciating pain.
What about your family? You have any kids?
I have one daughter.
Any problems health wise?
Um, who her? Oh no, she doesn't live here. She lives in Austin. So don't want to come back. Won't ever come back. Won't come to Flint.
So it's got to be emotional. You've been basically dealing with this mostly yourself these last few years.
Yeah. And what people that I can relate to, as far as like talking to Christina. But like I said, to when it's the worst, when all the blinders come off and the reality of how we got this way, it is in the wee hours of the morning to where it's just so exhausting that you can't even get up and walk. You know, you're just so overwhelmed. Like, how could you do this to a whole city and act like you're not accountable?
You think the city, you guys ever will trust that the water, even when all the pipes are changed? Because to me, right now, you shouldn't trust it. I mean, I've already found evidence that there was quite a bit of cheating that went on in the way they tested the water. Just look at it this way: they cooked up the numbers. At least I knocked on 400 doors. I found a substantial number of those had testing done the wrong way on purpose. But and that's at the same time the majority of the pipes have not been changed. Even if they change all the pipes, that's not addressing the interior plumbing because a lot of people's plumbs inside the home were
There's
damaged.
shit here that was here when they built the house. It's the same stuff they put in when they first built the house. I can't afford to replace that. But you know that like even if you do use the sink in there a little bit, and the filter's bad in little 20 days, 30 days. How could the filter go bad in 20 days if you're barely even using it? You know, and a shower filter that isn't going to take out the lead. You know, it's not just me with the eye problems. There's many residents that have had eye problems from the water. I would hope that the people would come together and maybe not just Flint, all of them, and say we've had enough. We've had enough of companies coming in here and doing this to cities and just walking off and leaving it. We've had enough of the county, our county government, our city government, our state government. You people, you need to have a reality check, and you need to understand you're working for us. We're not. It's not the other way around. We pay your fucking wages. You're gonna do like you're told.
Well, all I could do is keep doing what I'm doing, so I'll stay on it. And thanks for getting in touch with me. I'll make sure that I keep reporting on this because it's not the it's much easier as a journalist to cover the more urgent and new shiny object and look for new fires that you could go pretend you're trying to help put a spotlight on and then basically abandon that in 3 days. That's basically what modern day journalism is. Whether it's mass shootings, whatever it is, they come, they pretend they care. They pretend. They even say, "Oh, this has been normalized." Yes, by you, the journalists, and then they leave. And sometimes you go into communities like Flint, and it's kind of like a silent crisis. It's very much a crisis, but it's not getting any attention nationally. So it's just sitting there in silence. But how would it be normal? How is it normal when there's lines, blocks around just for water? This isn't like 3 months after something happened. This is 4.5 years after something happened. And the media is depicting it almost like, oh, it's just a trust issue. The water is fine now. The water's meeting
Something wrong with their
the water's meeting EPA
500 cars
standards.
in line. There's
It
just something wrong with their brain. They surely do. What's wrong with them? They should just go home and drink the shit up. Because you say anything to them about it, it's like, well, if they're living somewhere else, they're just going to say, well, you know, we sometimes wonder how our water is too. It's always a diversionary. Really? Well, I bet if it happened down here, you wouldn't be wondering. It would have been fixed like right now.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
yeah. Most places, this would have been fixed a long time ago. So that goes to the whole point of: are they really trying to fix it, or are they trying to
no,
force the majority of people out?
they're trying to force the people out. They're trying to get as much money out of them as they possibly can. We shouldn't be paying water bill. Why are we paying water bill with a filter on the sink in there?
And for most that aren't actually drinking from
Right.
the water.
Who's paying for all this supplements? Are you paying for me to? I'm even paying for some of my medications.
Yeah. And other communities that have had similar issues actually got Medicare for all. You guys have not gotten Medicare for all, which you should. You were poisoned, and they're even now having debates, scientific debates, whether they were poisoned or exposed. It's absurd. They didn't like you get exposed if you go to the beach. You get exposed if you go to the beach. It's something you willingly do, and you just didn't put enough suntan lotion on.
So a low dose of lead each day, every day, every day, every day. And then you have your testings. Okay, well, if you only have a couple of people testing, makes it really easy to control what the tests are, doesn't it? You know, at what point do you really think we're just going to sit here and just listen to everything that comes out of you, and believe? Seriously, no, we're not. We could still look down the road. We could still look back there and see what you done. It's total lies, and that will come out with good people like you. It's coming.
Well, the truth is a stubborn thing. It comes out whether they like it or not. It's just about when. We'll cover some other things this weekend here before Ty and I head out. Ty and I are going to be going to Chicago this coming week to cover a whole lot of things. A barber, a community barber, was just shot and killed by police there a few weeks ago. There's a growing outrage against a new police academy. That's the last thing they need in Chicago or here, to tell you the truth. Don't, more police. But we're going to be here rest of today, tomorrow, and covering things as they come. So definitely, if you can, if you're not a Patreon, become a Patreon at patreon.com/Jordan Chariton Reports. This ain't cheap, but we're going to keep coming out to the communities that everyone else is ignoring. But we need your support to make that happen so we can continue to. So patreon.com/Jordan Chariton Report. And we will be launching Status Coup very soon, officially, our new media revolution. So thank you for watching. If we are going live again, we'll be live later if possible. Follow my Twitter at Jordan Chariton to see what we're going to be up to. And thank you for talking to us.
You're welcome. Thank you. It's nice to have you here.
Peace.